I press and squeeze the water from my hair with a huff, wincing when I tilt my head to the side, and one of the bites the soldier left on my neck aches from the movement. I internally curse at the slight pain, deadpanning as I make my way over to the drying rack. Age, are you done yet? I call, briefly glancing towards the bathroom as I set my towel up to dry. Yeah, he answers, but doesn't come out from the bathroom. Well, come on out and give me your towel so I can hang it up to dry. I command lightly, crossing my arms and watching for the redhead to emerge from the bathroom corners. It takes a few seconds, but he finally steps out with the towel around his waist. His hair still dripping with water, he timidly walked over to me. Finally, I smile at the soldier as he nears, holding my hand for him. He steps into the lantern lights, and he pulls a towel from his waist and hands it over to me. The new lighting showcases the black roots of his hair, the tips red and almost leaking away with the water that dripped from his locks. As a couple of droplets fall and drizzle down his shoulders, I wave my free hand downwards. Come here, your hair's still wet, I comment, and he only obliges, leaning down slightly for me. Reaching my hands up, his eyes watch me for a moment before I plop the towel onto his head, fluffing and drying his hair with the cloth. It takes a few moments, but after I'm done removing the water from his hair, I hooked a finger under his chin and lifted his face up just a bit so I could wipe off the extra drizzle that had dropped down his collarbone and shoulder. When did you notice? His gaze trails off, pulling my attention to seeing him avoiding my eyes. His gaze cast downwards with an embarrassed expression on his face. The red hue dancing across his features twitches beneath the lantern flickering flame. My brows furrowing in confusion for a second before I brushed the towel through his hair once more, only to see most of the color had merely disappeared, almost as if my drying method had wiped away the few red coloring that had been left in his locks. It started fading the moment you dipped your hair under the water earlier, I finally answered, letting the damp towel hang on my forearm whilst I ran a hand through his hair. He leans his head into my touch, his furrowed brows slightly relaxing as he closed his eyes for a moment and just basked in my contrast. Eijiro? I wondered gently, tilting his head slightly to make him look at me. What's wrong? He lets out a breath, bringing his hand up to cup the back of mine before lightly wrapping his free arm around my waist and tugging me into it. His hand slips from mine to fully hug me, and I waste no time as I hug back, his face nuzzling into the crook of my neck while I rested my head against his chest. The next few minutes are silent, almost as if he was working himself to speak up, but when he does, his voice is quiet. I need help making a decision, Ian. He admits, causing me to tilt my head up slightly, my breath brushing beneath his skin, along as I repeated, decision. I can briefly feel him nod into my neck to turn my hair red again. I need to meet up with one of my friends, but if I do that, he trails. Oh, the witch you mentioned? I asked, earning another nod from him. The air falls silent once more, and I take this moment to tug away from the now dark-haired soldier. The bringing up of his friends are always a touchy subject, I figured, knowing it had something to do with my safety. I mean, who could you trust when you face a plethora of every bounty board in the realm? Come on, you can worry about that tomorrow. But I cut his response off with a shake of my head. I shifted a hand into his and tugged him over to one of the beds before making him lie down. As I'm reaching to pull the covers over his body, he drags me into the bed with him, causing me to sigh to escape my lips as I shifted to get comfortable, and he pulled the covers up over us. And with the soldier hugging me from behind, I closed my eyes, relaxing in my feelings of safety within Eijiro's arms. Good night, Red. I smile lightly, and I can feel his chest shake gently with a low chuckle at the nickname, his lips pressing onto the back of my neck for a moment, and I jump as I feel his sharp teeth on my skin. My eyes snap wide open when he bites my neck, lightly sucking on the skin afterwards. Another one? I asked, lightly smacking his arm as he cuddles into me. I swear you've left about 100 already, Eijiro, I scolded. So sorry, my lady, but this is my affection. He lightly and quietly defends. Your affection hurts, I say, trying to sound ticked off, but I couldn't help with a light laugh that breaks from my lips. Are you telling me to stop? He wonders, making sure I'm not uncomfortable, as per usual. A crimson hue dances across my features as I pause and slightly shake my head, causing his lips to smile against my skin. Well, good night, Yin, he mumbles, planting another kiss on the new mark etched onto me. And the embarrassment makes me bury my face into the pillow, trying to hide any further blush as I close my eyes to sleep. Time skip. My eyes blink open as the sound of a distant voice are muffled through the halls of our room. Eijiro's body is warm against my back, and I close my eyes again to hopefully drift back off into my much-enjoyed slumber. Another whistling sound flutters past, grasping my attention and waking me further. His arms fall from my body as I sit up, looking around the room for something. What am I looking for? I internally wonder, glancing down at my sleeping significant other before shuffling out of bed. I walked across the room and grabbed my clothes before getting dressed. The sound of Asia's usually thunderous snore sounded oddly quiet compared to the whispers of the voices muttering in my ear. I stopped as I knelt to the ground, brows furrowing as I hesitantly placed my hands on the surface and closed my eyes. Ever since the time I was wrong about the future, my quirk just stopped working, no matter how badly I willed it to. So it had been a while since I had tried activating it. But as I closed my eyes and tried to use my power, I was surprised to gain a short flash of vision, a trail leading me, no, beckoning me to follow it to the door. Why? I internally questioned as I stood, looking at the door with wary eyes. Why now? I muttered lowly to myself as I stepped forward. I pulled away from my brief vision when Eijiro lets out a grumble in his sleep, causing my attention to tilt towards him and my eyes to soften. I glanced between the door and my significant other, so unaware of what I was thinking, my mind contemplating as I walked back over to his bedside and furtively sat down. My hand combed through his messy hair, away from his sleeping face, my adoring gaze watching him for a second before I looked back to the door and sighed, leaning down and planting a kiss onto his cheek, causing his agape mouth to close as he smiled. He nuzzled further into his pillow whilst I stood up, pulling the covers over his figure so he wouldn't get cold with the absence of my body. Then, with one last glance his way, I hesitantly approached the front door, grabbing my mask from the corner and exiting the room, listening for the mysterious mother calling out to me. As the door lightly clicks shut behind me, I close my eyes again and trace my fingers along the door handle, letting a breath further from my lips as my quirk conjures up another slightly longer vision. That's when I realized that these short visions weren't fully showing me the future. They were leading me somewhere. I didn't know what I was thinking, heading off on my own, but the questions resolving around my quirk is suddenly going off by itself, continuing to drive me forward. As I walked along the empty corridor, the cheers of celebration outside slowly growing louder as I came to a stop at the end of the hall where my previous vision had ended. There was a light sense of anticipation building within me as I touched the wall and closed my eyes again. The tones and the voices seemed to grow and incredibly secretive, causing my heart to race with more questions as another vision leads me down the stairs and to the entrance of the hotel. I follow everything, feeling like a lost sense of deja vu the further I ventured, chasing a broken vision like bits of a mixed puzzle. And by the time I come to a stop just outside the entrance of the hotel, my hands graze the wall, and another vision tugs me off to the side of the street. The loud, joined voices of people is like thunder in my ears, almost quite against my now determined mindset to figure out what was wrong with my quirk. My short surges of vision led me far from the hotel. Or actually, I didn't even notice how far I had even walked. The sky was pitch black to showcase that it was dark, deep into the night by now. Then, just as I met at the end of another vision, I planted my hand on the wall of a nearby house, rummaging an alleyway. I closed my eyes again to use my quirk, but I was met with nothing. My quirk, future aided, had gone black, refusing to sound off again as my brows furrowed in frustration. Come on, not again, I muttered. I tried to use my quirk a few more times, but I couldn't see anything. I let out a groan of frustration, my heart heavy at the thought that my quirk had just stopped working all over again. What if I finally recover and I just burn the rest of my fuel? I internally panicked, looking up through the celebration crowd surrounding me. My hands shake at the thought of not being able to use my quirk like I used to, wondering if I had managed to somehow internally break my vision. The thought of losing my power all over again, causing my eyes to soften with sadness, with a predating thought flickering to life as I glance up to the dark sky. I better get back. Eijiro's going to freak out if I'm not there when he wakes up. I sighed, turning to leave the entrance of the alleyway. That's when I feel a harsh grab on my wrists, my arms straining as my hands are twisted behind my back. I'm dragged into the alleyway. My back is against someone as they held me, my body struggling against their grip, before finally going rigid once a cold, sharp object presses lightly against my throat. Keep struggling and I'll cut up you until you can't move anymore. A higher-pitched feminine voice threatens with glee, my eyes glancing down to see a shorter, blonde-haired girl. She's smiling up at me, sharp fangs evident in the dim lantern lights as she raises a paper up for me to see. Now, she draws on while reaching into her travel bag and pulling out an all-too-familiar bounty paper. Tell me, does this guy look familiar to you?